Roy Williams' Kansas team collided Thursday with college basketball's juggernaut, the Duke Blue Devils. But the Jayhawks rode the broad shoulders of Nick Collison to victory.
He is showing a lot of courage out here tonight. It is a one-man wrecking crew, Nick Collison.
Lute Olson's Arizona Wildcats have been the top team in the West all season, and Thursday they dispensed with Notre Dame. Now they're a game away from fulfilling their year-long promise. It's Arizona and Kansas for the Final Four, and it's next on CBS. Welcome you to the West Regional Final from Anaheim, California. The only regional that held up the top two seeds. About to meet here, the Kansas Jayhawks and the Arizona Wildcats. Arizona knocking out Notre Dame Thursday night, and Kansas behind Collison's 33 points, 19 rebounds, eliminating the Duke Blue Devils. And hello, my friends, Jim Nance, Billy Packer. We're really excited about this one, aren't we, Billy? This is the second meeting of the year between these two.
It really is amazing. The first one, the most bizarre game I've seen all year, in Arizona winning in Lawrence. We can never forget that ball game.
Oh, but they're going to need a performance here on the Kansas side by Kirk Heinrich. Far different than the one he had against Duke. He made only 1 out of 9 Thursday night.
He had a nightmare game also against Arizona, so the senior has got to play big today.
How about, talk about playing big, Nick Collison's performance.
Nick Collison, as Mike Krzyzewski said, is the best player in America this year as a senior. He was just incredible in his performance, and what impressed me more than anything, he played 40 minutes the other night.
Heinrich and Collison, both coaches' sons, and watch the way these two team up, Billy.
Well, they really understand the game, and of course been playing with each other for more than 4 years because they played together some in AAU ball in high school. Look, the ball goes inside. Collison sees all of his teammates, but he knows where the precious one is, out to Heinrich. Now you've got to play him for the three. Collison reposts up inside. The ball's kicked in. Excellent position by Collison, and he puts it away.
All right, they're both seniors. Let's talk seniors on the other side. Arizona beginning with Jason Gardner.
Well, Kansas went into Arizona last year and beat Arizona on their home court. But despite Gardner, who had 8 threes in that game for a school record, a great leader for this team.
Talk about leadership. Luke Walton does it all.
Well, he's the best interior passer in college basketball. Such a tough matchup for everybody. He's extremely strong, has a great touch, and for the first time this year, not only a case of Walton, but this Arizona team is finally healthy, Jim.
All right, Billy, Marquette is already set for New Orleans, who will be the second team to qualify. Kansas, Arizona next.
CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the Men's Basketball Championship is sponsored by the Mazda 6, Allstate, McDonald's, and by Bud Light.
Arizona and Kansas, they began the year in the polls ranked 1 and 2. Arizona ranked first, Kansas preseason number 2. Now they meet for the West Regional title. Starting lineup, Graves, who must stay out of foul trouble. He set a large part of Thursday night with foul trouble. Collison, Langford, Heinrich, and Miles. On the Arizona side, another senior who should not be overlooked is Rick Anderson, coming up big on the boards with Channing Frye, Luke Walton, Stoudemire, so critical in that comeback victory at Allen Fieldhouse back in January, and Jason Gardner. Let's go over to Bonnie Bernstein. Bonnie?
Jim, nobody wants to get this game started more than Kirk Heinrich. His 2 points against Duke, his second worst performance as a starter. He said, I really wish I just could have played yesterday to get all those bad shots out of my head. And if you're wondering, know that bruised right hand he suffered in that game did not affect him and shouldn't affect him today. As for that double-digit Kansas collapse to Arizona earlier this year, he said, we cannot afford to get complacent. We played the worst half of ball our entire season in that second half, Jim.
All right, Bonnie, Kansas in the blue uniforms with wins over Utah State, Arizona State, and Duke. While Arizona comes in to this regional final having eliminated Vermont, Gonzaga, and Notre Dame. They do have a malfunction here with the mains clock above the floor here. Billy totally out moment.
Jim, some interesting things to watch really in this ball game, going back to the time when these two teams met in Lawrence. Arizona used a 1-3-1 zone, and they were able to get by with that, particularly the way they made changes. And the key in that 1-3-1 zone was Jason Gardner running the baseline. I think that Kansas, if they try that again, can go deep inside with Graves and Collison.
Going to send the teams back to the benches as they try to work on the clock here. Not operating at the moment. That Utah State game was a real scare for the Jayhawks. Utah State, the Aggies, with a 3-point tying attempt at the buzzer. Bounced off the rim. Arizona State, so impressive. They shot well into the 60% range for that game. And then Duke on Thursday. They were down at one time 8 points in the second half. Arizona over Vermont and Gonzaga, the game of the tournament, double overtime, with the Zags having 2 shots there at the end of the second overtime to win it. And then Notre Dame, there was a stretch here Thursday night where Arizona hit 10 straight from the field and just ran away with things late in the first half.
They dominated that game without question.
We talked about the seniors, Billy, the likes of Collison and Heinrich, Gardner and Walton. Here's what they had to say about this game.
We definitely don't want this to be our last game. We definitely want to win a national title going out, for your senior year. There's no other way that, you can, no other way to be remembered.
This is for, a trip to New Orleans. We know how good they are. They're a great, great team, and we're going to have to play really well to beat them.
From the opening tip, they're going to be running at us. We're going to be running at them. They're going to be, pouring the ball down low, crashing the glass. We're going to be doing the same thing.
It's a big-time challenge, and I think we're ready for it. We'll come out and play loose and try to attack them and see what happens.
We just got to go out there and play like animals, locked up in a cage. You just come out all fired up. I tell you that.
Well, they won't open the cage quite yet. We'll be back to Anaheim in just a moment. The only operating clocks are above the backboards. There's nothing else that will allow anyone actually to follow the game score inside the arena. The scores are out.
Jim, that won't hurt the teams because the 35-second shot clocks are operable on the top of both boards. That's the only thing a player should ever concentrate on. He shouldn't be thinking score and looking at scoreboards whatsoever. Time is key.
Arizona with that 37-point turnaround on Kansas in their first meeting, and the basket made by Fry, made his first 6 here Thursday night.
There's the push up the floor very quickly.
Miles too strong. Well, hold on a minute. Bounced around 3 times. Easy put back for Graves.
Now, what Graves has to do, Jim, is not worry about getting into foul trouble. The other night he got in foul trouble, obviously hurt his team. Great rebound. He's got to play just with abandonment.
Stoudemire's shot was partially blocked by Heinrich, I believe, and underneath, the whistle going against Arizona. It's going on Fry, as Collison was trying to gain position underneath.
Well, he had position beautifully, as he does so well. Although Fry has excellent footwork, he's given up a lot of experience to Collison, who has got the best footwork of any big man in the country. Here is that zone defense I talked about. Gardner down on the baseline.
Langford, long, and Walton underneath.
Boy, they really are packing that 1-3-1 back in there very tight.
Walton lost the handle. It's Collison coming out with it.
Maybe pick up that dribble.
Heinrich, let's see what he has tonight. First shot off the mark. Langford, follow-up. And Anderson, he has been very active on the boards in the tournament.
Jim, Heinrich did not go up and down in the same spot. He glided off to the left. He's got to concentrate much better than that.
Walton wanting to challenge Langford. And Miles comes in to strip it away.
70% of Kansas baskets are on transition.
Kansas ball.
Jim, I want to point out something as to why Arizona is a tough team to break against. Because Walton does a lot of the interior passing and a lot of the penetration, that allows the Arizona guards to be back on defense.
Inbounds, Collison. Second chance, blocked by Anderson. They say he got a piece of the arm.
And back to that point, Jim, most teams' point guard would be the guy that gets the penetration, as an example of Gardner. But now we see when you have a Walton, Gardner can be back there, and it's tough to go ahead and get your break going.
2 shots for Collison, Big 12 Player of the Year, first team All-America, the 10th Jayhawk ever to be decorated in that category. First team.
And a young man who is now moving right along with Danny Manning in almost every honor that Kansas has had, with the exception of one, the MOP of the Final Four. And you know he'd like to join Manning in that regard.
They are the only two Kansas players, Manning and Collison, to ever have 2,000 career points, 1,000 rebounds, and 200 blocks.
There is a... Now that's the kind of foul that Graves really hurts Kansas on. You have Fry 18 feet from the basket, and Graves is leaning over his shoulder. At that point, just play away and play solid. Those cheap fouls will really haunt Kansas if Graves have to sit down.
Inbounds on the floor, picked up by Heinrich.
They'll take it to the hoop.
Taking on Walton, spin move. Look for the trailer. And
he threw it out of bounds.
Yep, it's Arizona ball.
I thought that Heinrich would take that all the way to the hoop and try to score. He was in a position to do so.
Kansas with only 1 out of 6 from the field to begin the game. Arizona having been beaten only 3 times all year. LSU, Stanford, and UCLA in the first round of the Pac-10 tournament.
Straight man-to-man here. Miles on Gardner.
And Miles.
Another turnover.
One in on Gardner. Collison back over to him.
Beautiful.
Inside. Graves. Miles gets the assist and the steal.
Beautiful hands by Collison and the presence to get that ball back out quickly. And how about the way that Graves ran the floor? 1-4 set up now. I think they can go to Fry early in this game. Graves has a tendency to try to reach.
Anderson hits the 3. Rick Anderson from nearby Long Beach. His dad is the coach at Long Beach Community College.
Look at where this 1-3-1 zone is. Stoudemire's inside the foul line.
Heinrich, yes! What a welcome sight that is for Roy Williams.
I don't think the 1-3-1 can be packed in that far. It'll give Heinrich confidence.
Walton over the back. Fry is going to be called for his second.
So now, instead of Graves being in foul trouble, it's Channing Fry. That's really good for Kansas.
Iguodala comes in for Arizona. Fry out. His freshman can really bring some energy to this team. And Heinrich, talking about gaining confidence. He needed one of those to fall after a horrible night on Thursday. 1 of 9, 0 for 5 from 3, and he knocks down that 3. Iguodala is on Heinrich.
Yeah, he should stay away from Iguodala's side because Iguodala's got the long arms.
Heinrich again off the glass, just a bit too strong. Graves tips it. Last touch by Iguodala.
If Heinrich is playing an intelligent game right now, he'll realize what the zone is giving up. It's giving up the wing jump shot, but he should stay away from Iguodala's side and get over on the other side and look for his jumper. Right there. He's open.
Miles had a look at it. Langford floater. Iguodala pulls it away. Gardner shut off by Miles.
Now without Channing Fry in the ball game, where are these inside points going to come from?
Well, maybe right here. Iguodala gives it up. Anderson. Tipped around. Miles saves it to Graves. Well done.
Miles really pushing the ball up the floor. Langford with a charge or a block. It's going to be a block.
Called on Arizona. Called on Anderson, his second.
Big foul trouble on the interior for Arizona early in this game. Adams probably going to have to come in for Anderson. That would really make Arizona small.
These two, the top 2 seeds in the West, they began the year ranked the top 2 teams in the country in the year in the last poll, 2 and 6. Right, 1-2 lined up out west. Langford with one more, and here comes the sub for Arizona. It'll be Fox taking Anderson out. He'll sit with the 2, and Nash gave Kansas big minutes against the Blue Devils. Number 33 comes in for Graves.
Jim, let me throw something out in regard to that number 1 ranking. Since 1994, only one team that started the season ranked number 1 preseason won a national championship. That was Pitino's Kentucky team in '96. So not all doesn't bode good tidings.
Back at the West Regional Final, Jim Nance, Billy Packer, Bonnie Bernstein, Marquette already punching the first ticket for New Orleans in the Final Four.
Well, you can see that Lute Olson did not want to go any smaller, bringing Adams in, so it's Fox and Channing and Dennis Lattimore were a threesome at the center position by committee a year ago. Now Fry has taken over.
Inside, Stoudemire gives it up for the basket to Iguodala.
Iguodala listed at 6'6", plays 6'8" or 9.
Up high, Collison jump shot. Yes.
He makes everything look easy, doesn't he?
He did the other night. I mean, that was just as dominating a performance you'll ever want to see, and Nash read that one all the way.
Iguodala, eye contact with who he was throwing it to, made it easy.
Heinrich, 2 now from outside the arc.
In both occasions, the zone defense is giving Heinrich plenty of time to get the good look. He's going straight up and down. He'll get that shot back.
Heinrich is on tonight. He's knocked down 2 trays. And the Jayhawks are up by 8. Overhead view of Anaheim and the pond, courtesy of the Saturn Lightship. Keep your eye on the sky when the Saturn Lightship visits a major event near you. Kansas on a 10-2 run to lead at 15-7, Billy.
Jim, the importance of Heinrich. He was 1 for 9 against Duke, had a terrible night, and he was 2 for 10 from 3 against Arizona in that game in Lawrence. And against that 1-3-1 zone, you have got to get somebody that will extend it. Heinrich certainly has a chance. I think Arizona's going to have to come out much deeper than they're playing a 1-3-1 now.
Arizona keeps Fry and Anderson on the bench with 2 fouls each. Walton driving on Nash. Beautiful.
Break down there, the young player not recognizing the lane he was given to Walton. The one thing the 1-3-1 has done, it has taken Collison somewhat out of the game.
Heinrich. Adams in the game now.
What a burst of energy Adams gave the other night against Notre Dame.
Push off outside, called on Nash. Lute Olson, Billy, this is an anniversary day for him at Arizona. It's 20 years to the day when he was signed as the head coach of the Wildcats. And he's also today on this 20-year mark looking for a milestone victory. It would be his 500th win at Arizona.
Oh, good steal. No talking and a great pass.
Heinrich.
Lack of communication by Arizona. Right now, their mind is not in this game anywhere near as well as Kansas is.
Heinrich with 8. Jayhawks up 8. 17-9.
Not a good man-to-man pressure right now.
Here's Gardner, 3-point shot.
As I said, in the loss, Arizona suffered at the hands of Kansas. Gardner set a school record with 8 threes.
That was in their matchup last year. This season, Gardner and Stoudemire helped fuel that big 20-point comeback. And the steal by Adams. Miles trying to take it right back.
Tremendous play by Miles. He anticipated the behind-the-back dribble.
Langford pulls up. Graves inside, and one.
Well, Lute Olson is going to have to figure out a way to stymie this Kansas club that is really fired up. Now, he knows they don't have a deep bench, but they got great play out of Graves coming back so far tonight, not getting any foul trouble. And there you see the strong young man that, due to the automobile accident, got up to 290 pounds. And Jim, as you know, at Kansas, unless you can make that run that Roy Williams requires, you do not even qualify for the team. He couldn't make the 6.5 laps. And so it was deep into November before he was sure he was going to be a qualified player at Kansas. And it was Roy Williams that used to run with him to give him some confidence.
Way off on that free throw. That foul was on Adams, and Fry has returned to the floor for the Wildcats.
They ought to go to Fry right down inside to try to get Graves in some foul trouble.
Stoudemire got free, and Heinrich from behind comes over to swipe it away.
Heinrich, a very good leaper. Look at how much quicker he looks today than he was the other day.
Collison got him to commit, leaves Miles open on the wing. Oh, he had a good look and not even close. Adams for Arizona with the rebound.
Miles not a good outside shooter. Would much rather penetrate and kick.
Walton challenged Collison, but Nick collapses inside for the rebound.
Luke looking for that fadeaway jumper against a Collison that will not be effective. Channing Frye with 2 fouls. Let's see if they give Graves an opportunity. Now we see Arizona getting out of the 1-3-1, going back to their man-to-man.
Here's Frye. Must be careful. He gave up baseline with those 2 fouls. And Langford, who had a career-high 27 in the first matchup this season, takes advantage.
20 of those in the first half. He's been playing great basketball in the postseason. Really gives them 3 outstanding scores and picked up the slack when Heinrich was down.
He plays far bigger than his 6'4" frame. And here's Gardner driving.
You know, I think that loss to Arizona and the way that they lost it the first time will help Kansas mentally, Jim. They know they've got to keep things up. The game will never be in control against this Arizona team.
That was off Langford's foot. Kansas had the lead up to 9 a moment ago and really clicking now that Heinrich has the outside shot working.
Nice rotation. Excellent idea by Miles to throw that ball so Heinrich could run underneath it.
Kurt Heinrich, senior from Sioux City, Iowa. In the Final Four a year ago, knocked out in the national semis by eventual champion Maryland. Graves trying to deny, and Heinrich comes over to help, and it works out with Collison there.
Great double down by Heinrich. He's playing so quick, and Michael Lee with the shot.
Lee comes right in and knocks down a 3.
What a lift Lee gave defensively against J.J. Riddick the other night. Riddick had a nightmare of an evening, but give Lee a lot of credit for the defense. There's that fadeaway shot again, and not effective.
Heinrich comes in for the rebound. The lead is 10, and the Jayhawks are looking for more. Pull up 3. Heinrich. Oh, yes.
Confidence, confidence.
27-14 Kansas.
Lute Olson packed the 1-3-1 back. It gave Heinrich open looks, and the confidence is brewing right now.
Pass denied. Knocked out by Lee.
Backdoor cut, but no space there for Walton.
Heinrich with 11. Kansas has hit 7 of its last 10, but this is pure confidence. We can pull up and hit that.
Great screen by Graves. Frye comes out. He cannot challenge Langford, who goes right by him for the score. This Kansas team is not only playing sharp physically, but they're playing an excellent game mentally to start off.
Remember in that first matchup, Ed Allen Fieldhouse, Lawrence, Kansas, it was 44-24. Kansas led by 20, and then there was a 37-point turnaround. Stoudemire was a big part of that comeback. He hit 4 threes in the second half. They went on a win by 17.
Jim, in that game, Kansas shot 65% in the first half and then 29 in the second. Considering the quality of the teams and the incredible atmosphere that day in Lawrence, I think it's the most bizarre college game I've ever seen.
Michael Lee called for that foul. Wildcats were able to whittle down that 20-point deficit to 13 by the half.
Stoudemire last year was 4th in the nation in free throw shooting, 90.4%. This year off that a little bit, but still one of the best foul shooters in the country.
Damon Stoudemire's cousin hits the second free throw, and it's 27-15 Kansas.
They go back to the zone. Anderson back in the game now, so Brian Anderson, who sat down earlier. Gardner does a great job recognizing, running that baseline where the open players are.
Lee steps free. Pulled away by Anderson, but Lee right back with the theft off the glass, and Frye secures it.
How about the fact that Graves only has 1 foul on him at this point in the game? Staying out of trouble.
Picked up Anderson, quick hands Langford. Took it right in, right past Gardner.
Langford plays a lot bigger than he's listed in the program, Jim. Not afraid to take it inside with that penetration. As we said, at 20 points in the first half in that first game.
Again, only 6'4", plays much larger than that. And Frye Will he try to get Graves a second foul? No. The other night against Notre Dame, Arizona was almost mistake-free in that first half. Here's Heinrich ahead. Gardner defending. Can't stop that.
Second great pass on the open court by Kansas.
Really, they had one turnover in that first half against Notre Dame. They have 10 turnovers in the first 10 minutes here tonight.
Yeah, the other night they were 10 assists, 1 turnover for a half. Arizona actually having a hard time getting a handle on dribbles and passes.
Bryant hits the baseliner.
Well, look at how Heinrich is pushing the ball up the floor. Arizona just getting back down court, and Heinrich would already be over half court. But he looks so much sharper than he did the other night. And Collison being very patient.
Heinrich, not that time. He was way out there.
You know what it was, Jim? He should have stepped in that time. He had about 2 feet, but he didn't have to shoot on that shot.
No foul call on Collison.
Whoa, Collison!
Knocks it out. Boy, I tell you, he got away with one, though, I think, inside.
He made 3 defensive plays on that series.
Walton comes back for Arizona.
Nate Olson not happy with Channing Frye's effort on that play.
Iguodala also back on the floor. Gardner.
Great effort.
Tipped out. That was Collison with the tap to Miles.
If anything, you'd have thought that Arizona might have an advantage, but Kansas is an excellent rebounding team.
That was a force taken away by the Wildcats. Stoudemire. All set.
That's some shot right there because he didn't make a clean catch and still on the way up was able to get it secure in his hands. Again, watch this defense that they're playing. A 1-3-1. Collison trying to get power down inside on Gardner.
Wide open over here, Lee. That's the second line off the bench for Michael Lee.
And you see what he's doing. He's shooting from the deep corner. Jason Gardner can't get from underneath the basket all the way out to that corner. That will always be an opening against the 1-3-1. It almost is the shot the 1-3-1 wants to see you take.
Stoudemire not able to hit 2 in a row.
And Heinrich was off and running again.
Inside, Collison just took his eye off of it. Walton was there.
Collison playing again every minute of this half. Played 40 minutes the other night of as solid a basketball as an interior player can play.
Anderson.
Not a good shot. Matter of fact, I can't believe the refs hadn't blown the whistle to get that net down on the other end, Jim.
Quickly at the other end, Lee, and last touched by Graves of the Arizona ball.
If you're Arizona, you want those referees to get the net fixed.
We'll have a chance. There's a timeout on the floor. Heinrich with 13 leads all scorers. Pay attention. Here's the Singular Wireless fan poll. Should the Final Four matchups be determined by the remaining team seeds? I guess, in other words, should they reseed is the question. Singular Wireless users send vote to 171 or log on to CBSSportsline.com/Singular. Stay tuned. Results during Singular at the half.
Jim, I've always been for not reseeding, but matching up the highest ranked team to the lowest ranked team that gets to the Final Four. I think it would be a fair reward for a great regular season.
And we have a number 3 in already with Marquette claiming the Midwest earlier today. Graves reach around his second.
I think any team that plays Kansas, knowing that they have a short bench with Wayne Simeon out, should feed the post early and get Graves on those reaches. Those are cheap fouls, and he doesn't know how to pull back.
Yeah, he's going to be pulled out for that one. Nash will take his place, and Anderson still with the 2 fouls. He keeps back on the floor for Adams. Kansas was not going to allow any cheap inbounds play. We've seen so many of those in the tournament.
Well, you notice how well coached they were in that out-of-bounds play. Everybody saw the ball and their man.
Stoudemire out of control.
Oh, he's walking.
Yep. Langford was trying to draw the charge. Marquette over Kentucky by 14. And Billy, I couldn't help but, as I watched that magnificent performance today by Marquette, think of your old friend Al McGuire. what it would have meant to him to have lived to have seen Marquette going back to the Final Four.
Absolutely. 1977. Al was able to take the team the entire way. The victory over North Carolina for the national championship. There you see Miles does not want to take that shot.
Does now.
There he is.
It's 2.
You see where the defense was? Stoudemire's feet were inside the foul line. Jim, Al, and Tom Crean had a nice relationship before, unfortunately, Al passed away, so I know how proud he'd be.
Lost the coach 2 years ago this month. Walton with a call outside on Kansas. You can get the fastest tournament scoreboards on the internet with updated play-by-play of each Elite 8 game only at CBSSportsLine.com or on America Online. Again, the keyword is CBS Sports Line. Stoudemire out, Adams in.
Heinrich had got a little bit of chance to rest right back there out on the floor with 5:48 to go. Jim, with that loss by Kentucky, the SEC with 6 teams in the tournament now has all 6 out. Nice move inside, and there's that great passing by Walton in the interior.
And stolen away by Arizona.
Miles has a good assist-turnover ratio, but that time he telegraphed the pass to Collison.
That was last touch by Kansas. Yeah, everybody wanted to make such an issue, and it was a great achievement that first week for the Big East to have all 4 teams advance, but still got Syracuse tomorrow. But how about the Big 12? We have at this point 7 teams left in the tournament, and 3 of them are from the Big 12.
That's right. They are now 11-3 in the tournament. By far the best report card, and of course, you know, throughout the course of the year, everybody talked about the Big 12 and the SEC being tops. The SEC certainly doesn't have as good a report card in the tournament.
Luke Walton tipped up.
Iguodala got a hand on it.
Anderson gets it back. Outside Gardner.
Boy, look at that rebounding by Kansas.
Right back to Collison. Steps back in. Bounds to secure it for Kansas.
Kansas 4th in the country in rebound margin this year at 7.8. And they're doing the job.
Oh, Nash way over the head of Miles.
One of the reasons Nash does not get the playing time.
Arizona turnover prone early. 10 in the first 10 minutes.
And some of those, Jim, leading directly to baskets, as we see right here. That's the second lob that Heinrich got.
This was the point in their first matchup where Arizona started to turn things around at the 5-minute mark. Not here. Heinrich forces another one. That's number 12 overall on the night. And a lay-in for Heinrich.
2 plays by Gardner that you don't want to see in a senior. One going up in the air on offense, and the other not stopping the dribbler on the break. And Heinrich is capable of passing it, but he can make an easy layup if nobody's going to stop him with the dribble.
Adams. They say that most of the big Arizona runs on the season, you went back and charted them, start with a big dunk by Adams.
Well, that happened the other night. Adams having a terrific night, 7 for 9, 14 points.
Well, and Heinrich's 3 off, so here comes Arizona.
Adams looking for the lob. Oh, too high. That was halfway up the top of the backboard.
Well, Gardner retrieves. And a foul on Kansas. Nope, hold on a minute. They're going the other way.
Iguodala going 1 dribble too far on the inside. He had Adams out on the wing.
So Iguodala called for his first. We'll be right back. Timeout. 3:40 to go. First half.
There's only 2 ugly people in the world, and your mama's both of them.
You know, your mama's so fat, she stepped on the dollar and made change.
I heard your mama's so ugly, she robbed the bank with no gun, just stuck her head over the counter and say, put that money in that bag. Stick 'em up. Stick 'em up.
Timing was a little off.
Oh, timing was a little off.
Timing was way off.
You're not funny.
Tell it over a great tasting, less filling Miller Lite. It's Miller time.
Don't mean to belabor it, but it has been the difference. The turnovers, the 13 by Arizona. 20 points converted off turnovers.
And Jim, to give you an example how that's uncharacteristic for this team, they have 104 more assists than turnovers on the year. They also have not gotten to the foul line the way they normally do because they are handling the ball poorly. They stay in the 1-3-1 zone. It's why Collison only has 2 attempts to shoot. But he's putting so much pressure on Arizona that they're packing the defense way inside. Should make it open for some outside shots for this man, Heinrich.
But they said we want to contain Collison. They've done that. Whoa, Miles.
Yeah, but Heinrich is open.
Collison with only 2 shots in the game, 3 points. Coming off his 33, 19 rebound effort, 4 on the shot clock. So he launches.
Jim, what's happening to Heinrich, though? He is staying out way beyond the 3-point range. He needs to take a couple of steps in. He'll get the same shot, much easier to make.
Anderson.
That's his second outside shot of the night.
He has 8.
With Channing Frye out of the ball game, they haven't been able to get Graves in trouble foul-wise.
Heinrich's been out there by that second stripe.
Yeah,
you don't need even...
Right, he needs to take up the slack when the ball is rotated from one side to the other to have a much shorter jump shot.
Collison inside, rejected.
That was Iguodala. His long arms.
And the hold on Miles. Let's take a look at our Pontiac High Performance Tournament summary. And you see the conference records. Note the ACC at 5-4. The ACC without a team in a regional final for the first time since 1979.
That was the famous year of Black Sunday when Duke and North Carolina were both beaten in Raleigh. Never got to Greensboro, what they thought was going to be an easy route for ACC powerhouses to play in Raleigh one week, Greensboro the next. But they never got there. And that was the year that the University of Pennsylvania came out of the East and got themselves up against Magic Johnson in one of the all-time bizarre, in a negative way, Final Four semifinal games.
Yeah, but what a Final Four. We remember it because of Magic and Bird out in Salt Lake City, the same court where the Wildcats edged out Gonzaga in double overtime just last week. So Gardner hits the front end and back end of that 1-1. 2:16 to go in the half. 7-0 run here by Arizona since the Adams dunk.
Well, Lee put Gardner right down.
Iguodala again with a defensive play.
He should give the ball up. Smart move. Walton's strength on those pivots. Hard to take the ball away from him. So wide and strong.
And look, we're back to the line for a 1-on-1. Miles with his second.
This Arizona team, Jim, went into the Pac-10 tournament, which was basically something that Lute Olson could have called the Lute Olson postseason tournament, knocked out by UCLA in that first round. So listening, you mentioned that story about Al a little while ago. You mentioned how Al always used to say if he played in a conference, which he never did, he was always an independent at Marquette. You know, he would have lost ball games so that he could keep his team fresh. I'm sure that's not how Lute took that literal interpretation of Al's statement.
I can remember Al saying at our seminars, I wouldn't want to play 4 games in 4 days.
Absolutely.
They go play in the NCAAs. Why bother?
That zone is getting much more active than it was at the start of this ball game.
Arizona has chipped away. It's now just a 7-point game.
And they only have one man that wants to take the perimeter outside jump shot because Miles doesn't want to shoot it.
8 on the shot clock. Collison, 3. And that leaves no one underneath.
Roy Williams is going to have to get a second perimeter shooter out there. Lee doesn't mind taking a shot. He's in there.
Walton, it was number 4 on 4.
He's amazing with that strength inside, Jim, how he can get those leaners. Crowd into it, and here it may not be a home crowd.
That's up and down.
West Coast people.
Hold on a minute. It's going to be a late call. That may have been up and down on Heinrich.
This is going to be interesting. One official pointed right down to the feet and said, no, I had the call. So they are going to change it.
Traveling, they're going to call it.
Well, Roy Williams has a beef there, and I agree with him. The referee closest to the call emphatically pointed out it was not a travel, and it should not have been overruled. Roy is absolutely correct. He needs to sit down now, though.
Coming up, singular at the half, Greg Clark and Missouri coach Quinn Snyder to get you caught up on the latest tournament news. Coming up on singular at the half.
Roy Williams got to be careful right now. If you're an assistant coach, get a hold of him right now because he doesn't need a technical here, but Roy has every reason to be angry.
He's taking the jacket off.
Yep. He is hot, and rightfully so. That was a piece of poor officiating there. He is
staring down that official.
He's never looked a putt at it that hard,
isn't he? Looking at the basketball right now.
Wow.
He bore a hole right through his head.
Oh, he did. That was John Chaney and then some.
There's Walton. Down to 5. Down to 3, I should say.
Roy now wants a timeout, and he's going to let these referees know it. If you're an assistant, you have got to get a hold of him.
What a comeback. Wildcats got it within 3. Kansas with what will likely be the last shot of the half. 24 seconds to go. A 13-0 run.
But here's where Roy Williams really has to regain his composure. He is now talking to the NCAA representative on the call. I guarantee you this locker room will be a fire and brimstone.
It also sends a powerful message to his team that has seen this lead whittled away.
Well, they've got to figure out a way to get Collison in the offense for the second half.
2 seconds and a half. Langford short. Gardner has it, and this is a very similar scene to the first one. The big lead was 16 at 38-22, and the last 13 points of the half to Arizona. Let's go over to Bonnie.
Jim, it's pretty difficult not to see the look on Roy Williams' face. What's your greatest aggravation right now, Coach?
Well, both things. We didn't play very well, and the referees can't make up the rules as they go. Nobody blew the whistle, and then all of a sudden they get together and make a call. They can't do that.
Well, Billy, you saw it. There's no question about the violation.
The accuracy of the violation was there, but you can't overrule an official after the fact like that.
Greg, Clark, and Quinn in New York coming up in just a moment.
CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the Men's Basketball Championship is sponsored by New Line Cinemas A Man Apart, Coca-Cola, Singular Wireless, and by Pontiac.
I'm Greg Gumbel in New York. Coming up on Singular at the half, the first team to cut down the nets is Marquette. We'll have all the tournament news after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports presents Singular at the half. Singular's wireless polling allows you to get into the game.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our New York studios and Singular at the half. Greg Gumbel along with Clark Kellogg and Missouri coach Quinn Snyder. Our score at the break. We're trying to determine a second Final Four team. Kansas by 3 over Arizona. And here are some numbers from the first half. And Kirk Heinrich has kicked his game in. Kansas looked like it was going to be a runaway. What happened?
Heinrich got a lot of those in transition. They're doing a great job of running off of Arizona's mistakes early. But the zone caught up to them.
Yeah.
Arizona playing a 1-3-1 zone to stay with Nick Collison and not let him get touches. Heinrich knocks down some shots. They hit a few perimeter shots, but it caught up to him, Collison not getting touches. And there you see Kansas getting out in transition, and that's where Heinrich scored a lot of his points, is in transition.
And they also scored off turnovers, Greg, and if you're going to score the ball, and Arizona has a lot of ways to score it, you can't throw it all over the gym. You got to take care of it. Here you see Miles with just a nice defensive play coming from behind Walton, giving Heinrich 2 of his 15 points. Good hands there by Jeff Graves, leads to another turnover. Terrific pass there by Collison, right on the numbers for Heinrich, and then good denial. Heinrich doing it at both ends, and when he gets it, he goes right to the front of the rim. But the Arizona Wildcats shut off the turnover valve in the last 3 minutes, and they went on a 13-0 run in the half.
And they lead it, or they trail. Arizona trails Kansas by 3, 38-35 at the break. Earlier in the Midwest region, got to call it an upset. Marquette Scott Merritt misses. Dwayne Wade got his game going with the pickup and the jam.
Keith Vogan's trying to bring Kentucky back. The lead was 14 after that 3, but then Travis Diener pushes it ahead to guess who? Dwayne Wade, who was simply fabulous. 16-point lead. Dwayne Wade, bang.
Marquette's Robert Jackson will find Wade for the 3, and the Golden Eagles stayed on top. Wade drives and jams Marquette all the way to New Orleans with the big victory over Kentucky. Leslie Visser with Marquette head coach Tom Crean after the game.
Can you talk a little bit about the play of your team?
It was incredible. I mean, they played so unselfish from the very beginning. Rob and Scott got us going with the defense. Dwayne and Travis and Todd did an excellent job. We started rebounding. We started holding them to one stop, and we did a great job.
Marquette, I got to give it to them. They were ready to play. They were focused. Certainly, we didn't have an answer for Dwayne Wade, but I thought once they got the momentum, certainly it turned into an away game for us.
Boy, Tubby Smith right on the mark. They didn't have an answer for Dwayne Wade, who registered the first triple-double in an NCAA tournament game since Andre Miller did it for Utah back in '98 against Arizona.
No, he was great, and he had some help, too. Diener was really good. Jackson, big story, too.
Double-double for Jackson. He had a double-double in the first half. But again, that's what we talked about at the top, the ability of Marquette to score in more ways and easier than Kentucky could, and then also the brilliance of Dwayne Wade. When you've got a player like that, it can make a huge difference in giving you the confidence you need to beat a good team.
The Golden Eagles on their way to New Orleans. Earlier in our singular fan poll, we asked, should the Final Four matchups be determined by the remaining team seeds? Most of you disagree, so you say no. Keep watching for more singular wireless fan poll questions. We'll be back on the road to the Final Four tomorrow at 2 Eastern Time, followed by the East Regional Final, Syracuse and Oklahoma at 2:40. Then at about 5:05 p.m. Eastern Time, Michigan State and Texas meet in the South Regional Final. And that first game of the day features the Oklahoma Sooners, #1 seed in the East, against Syracuse. How do you see this?
Oklahoma's guards are small, and that's a problem against Syracuse's length in the zone. They're going to have to get some play from their interior guys at the high post, too, to attack that thing.
How would you attack Syracuse's zone with the personnel that Calvin Sampson has?
I think they got to ball screen a little bit. Try to get those guards some easy looks and figure out a way to get penetration. And just they got to make shots, and but they got to figure out a way to get them shots.
Exactly. And Carmelo Anthony, again, much like Dwayne Wade, when you've got a player like that, he can elevate the rest of his team, and I think that could very well be the difference tomorrow for Syracuse.
Okay, guys, that's tomorrow. We still have 20 minutes to play tonight. Thank you for watching Singular at the Half. Jim and Billy will be back shortly with the second half of Kansas and Arizona, but coming up, a special report from Dan Rather and CBS News, America at War.
CBS Sports presents Singular at the Half. Singular's wireless polling allows you to get into the game.
Be a part of the madness when Craig Kilborn takes the Late Late Show to New Orleans starting Monday on CBS.
Don't ask me what I had to do to get these beats.
It's the NCAA tournament site with live scores, updated brackets, and insight from the top coaches. CBSSportsline.com or AOL keyword CBS Sportsline.
Dan Rather, CBS, with the latest war headlines. Allied commanders insisted today that their forces have not paused in their advance on Baghdad, contrary to reports from some news organizations. They say ground troops are refueling, reloading ammunition, and maneuvering for better position, while air power, quote, prepares the battlefield for the push to Baghdad. CBS's John Roberts is with the Marines north of Nasiriyah.
10 days into what was supposed to be a short, sharp war, Marines of the 2nd Light Armored Reconnaissance Battalion take advantage of a lull in the action. They complete needed repairs and consolidate their resources in preparation for the next big move. Though some Marine battalions are still coming under nighttime harassing fire from Iraqi units, there is now little of the intense fighting that marked the initial push north from Nasiriyah earlier this week. The admission from top generals that the original schedule for this war may be significantly delayed comes as no surprise to these Marines in the front lines.
The first couple of towns that we went through, it was some pretty scary moments.
From the moment they began meeting the first concentrated pockets of resistance in Nasiriyah, they knew the general's forecasts would not hold.
The U.S. Central Command is trying to determine if 9 Marines killed near Nasiriyah 6 days ago were killed by Iraqis or by friendly fire. Also near Nasiriyah, the remains of 4 American soldiers were found in shallow graves. It's suspected they were from the Army Maintenance Unit ambushed earlier this week. While Baghdad shook again tonight under some of the heaviest bombing of the war, the controversy raged over who caused yesterday's deadly Baghdad market attack. The Allies are falling Iraqi ordnance. In northern Iraq, Kurdish forces pursued withdrawing Iraqi soldiers amid reports that the Saddam Iraqis are preparing for a last stand at the key oil city of Kirkuk. CBS's Alan Pizzi is covering the war in the north.
Bombing raids continued along Iraqi front lines on the northern front, and Kurds continue to occupy territory on 2 fronts pushing towards Kirkuk. Kurdish forces were seen lifting landmines left by the retreating Iraqi forces. Meanwhile, villagers pelted American soldiers with stones and eggs when they went to look at a cruise missile that fell in Turkey. It was the 3rd report of a cruise missile falling in Turkey in the last week.
Several cruise missiles have flown off course and landed in Turkey and Saudi Arabia without casualties, but the U.S. has temporarily suspended Tomahawk launchings from the eastern Mediterranean and the Red Sea. Iraq today warned the Allies to expect more suicide attacks and vowed to follow the, quote, enemy into its land. This came after Iraq carried out its first such attack of the war at a checkpoint near Najaf, where a suicide bomber in a taxi killed 4 soldiers from the U.S. 3rd Infantry and himself. In far southern Iraq, Sky Television's Bill Neely tells us British Marines are still trying to find Iraqi paramilitary death squads near Qasr.
Dawn raids. They broke into dozens of houses to hunt for the soldiers, the secret police, and the henchmen of Saddam. The protests are loud, but the Marines are acting on the tip-off of informers who've told them where to find the men who never hid before. That's why these raids will go on to root out the remnants of a regime now dead, at least in this tiny slice of Iraq.
A moving ceremony outside London as the first bodies of British war dead came home. The 10 flag-draped coffins were taken off a plane one at a time. At least 23 British servicemen have been killed. At least 37 Americans have lost their lives. There are no firm figures on Iraqi casualties, military or civilian. A summary of the war in Iraq on a special edition of 48 Hours right after basketball. For now, Dan Rather, CBS News, New York.
CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the Men's Basketball Championship is sponsored by Chevy Trucks, Code Red, Capital One, and by Microsoft.
Back here in Anaheim, second half about to begin. Arizona scoring the final 13 points of the first half. These two sides not only know one another, they understand the significance of this setting. They know that the goal is only a shot away. The second team to the Final Four about to be determined here in the next 20 minutes. Aerial shots from above here in Anaheim, provided by the Saturn Light Ship, the entire Saturn Light Ship team. Hoping you're enjoying this evening's CBS coverage of NCAA basketball. Billy, the Microsoft Agile move of the first half.
Langford drives around. We talked about the fact Channing Frye with 2 fouls on him could not afford to stay with him. Langford finishes very well.
Well, in that first half, the lead at one time 16 for Kansas. Lee coming off the bench, knocking down a pair of threes. Percentages are virtually even. Arizona with those turnovers, 10 in the first 10 minutes.
Turnover, a big story. Arizona's been outstanding with the turnover assist ratio, 18-9 Gonzaga, 19-10 Notre Dame.
Heinrich leading the way, 15. Anderson for Arizona hit 2 threes to lead their side with 8. Let's go over to Bonnie Bernstein. Bonnie?
Jim, you mentioned turnovers. to give you an idea of how much of an impact it had on Arizona, the Wildcats averaged just over 14 a game. They had 13 in the first half that resulted in 20 Kansas points. Lute Olson said, amazing what happens when you stop turning the ball over. He said that 1-3-1 zone that's so strong on the inside is what's really helped keep Nick Collison at bay. Look for more of that in the second half.
All right, Bonnie, and Kansas in the blue uniforms begins the second half.
Jim, they do start in the 1-3-1 zone, and Heinrich has got to realize he can get shots right outside the red three-pointer. There is one right there. That's the distance that he can find successful.
Well, Collison with the tap to keep it alive for Kansas. Collison in that first half with only 3 points.
The other guy to look for in this second half is Stoudemire, who had 6 of 9 threes against Kansas in the first game this year.
Miles open shot.
Wow, he does not want that shot, does he?
Langford, though, pulls it back. Now he steps in.
He loves that leaner.
Kansas able to convert on that possession.
He loves that leaner.
That breaks a 5-minute drought for Kansas.
Jim, talking about Miles not wanting that shot. This year he is 7 for 60 in their losses. There is
Anderson with the three-point shot.
He is stepping out there and looking very comfortable with the three.
Heinrich is ready to load it up.
Think of that. Miles, the point guard, shooting 11% in the losses that Kansas had this year. He's got to want the shot.
And landing on the back is Anderson. That'll be his third. Now that big controversy at the end of the first half. A late whistle on this violation, this up and down on Heinrich. It wasn't called initially, and then Roy went over and talked to Judy Rose. She's on the NCAA selection committee.
Roy was very hot. Fortunately, did not get a technical foul. And on that, Jim, what I was disappointed in from an officiating standpoint, it was a violation, but the official who was right on top of the play even signified that the man was down. So the call was made delayed from the other side of the floor. Sometimes if a referee asks for help from another referee, you can see the overturn. But that one was very unusual.
Well, I looked at him, and he was not even looking in that area. Then he heard the crowd reaction, and he waved it off as though, hey, no, I saw it, but he didn't.
Well, obviously he didn't because Heinrich was about 6-8 inches off the floor.
I was looking right at him. He never saw it.
Walton with that strength.
And that's a foul on Langford.
There's the difference between a guy that penetrates that doesn't have strength. That would have been a good shot block.
That's on Collison.
So strong inside.
Collison instead, Billy. That's for Nick Collison, his first. You know, you talked about how he played 40 minutes the other night with that huge effort against Duke. In 40 minutes, pulling down 19 rebounds, scoring 33 points, the bulk of it inside. He had only 1 foul in that game.
Well, it's amazing what he's been able to do. Last year, he committed 108 fouls and fouled out of 6 games. So an area of improvement on his part with the experience that he's gained. So he's improved in 2 significant ways. His ability to shoot fouls and to stay out of foul trouble between his junior and senior year.
Down 16 at one time. Arizona now trails by only 2.
Look at how Gardner gets all the way out on the corner because he knows he doesn't have to worry about Miles' jump shot.
Langford going in. Back of the rim. Tipped around by Graves. And Walton spins away. Arizona's got the numbers. The trailer lost control of it.
Graves with a good steal on Channing Frye. That was an easy layup.
Langford inside. This time he hits it.
Terrific job by Kansas that time. We talk about how Graves picks up cheap fouls when he's guarding somebody, and Arizona hasn't tried to go to Channing Frye much with Graves on him. But that was a good steal.
Gardner on the drive. Oh, he comes up short. Graves pulls it away.
Big miss.
Miles over to Langford. Pulls up short. Only Frye underneath.
Nobody back. Kansas doing a good job getting back on defense. So nobody back down the floor for Arizona. And there's the case now. Frye is starting to be much more aggressive.
Over Collison and Graves. Graves comes back to get it.
Junior college man did a good job right there, didn't he?
Got 7 rebounds. Langford stopped
and down.
Well, they saw it that time. And Roy's laughing about it. Yeah, that's exactly what he's thinking. Yeah, hey, what about that other one?
Well, Roy's saying the reason he went up and down and came back down, he got fouled. Roy had about 6 fouls there on the arm. But But you got to get your team not thinking about officiating, and as a coach, you don't need to be thinking about it either.
I thought he was doing the Macarena for a moment. 84-40, Kansas early second half.
Both of these coaches have taken teams to the Final Four on multiple occasions. Lute Olson, he's taken 2 different teams to the Final Four.
On the floor, Collison over to Langford.
Heinrich open for the jump shot.
Miles doesn't see him. Heinrich tipped that one out.
And Miles should have got that ball to Heinrich for right at that spot.
There he is this time for 3.
He was open there before, but you can see Heinrich going straight up and down now on his jump shot, a lot more confident.
Talk about taking teams to Final Fours. Roy's taken Kansas 3 times. Walton, too strong. Luke's taken Arizona 4 and Iowa 1 time. This Heinrich at the other end so quickly. Now he'll decide to come out.
Good decision.
Anderson must be careful. He can't really defend that with the 3 fouls, and Graves takes advantage.
Is Lute also going to go timeout here?
7-point run by the Jayhawks, Billy. Anderson hit 2 in the first half.
Good tap that time by Miles.
Graves up ahead. Double-digit lead for the Jayhawks.
Lute Olson probably should have taken a timeout on the last possession. He needs one here. He's trying to wait for the TV timeout. Sometime that can cost you, Jim.
Any whistle under 16 would suffice. And Arizona calls the timeout.
I think Gardner realized not only was the clock working against him, his team out of sync, wanted the timeout as the captain.
A 9-0 run, and again Heinrich from the outside. He is on target today. Jim Nance, Billy Packer, Bonnie Bernstein. Quite a response here by Kansas after Arizona got within 2.
Jim, we always think about runs. This Arizona team has had incredible runs this year. 32-4 against Southern Cal. They had a 26-2 against UCLA and a 20-3 against this very Kansas team. So it's usually Arizona the team on the run. Kansas doing a terrific job here. Adams back in. Let's see if he'll get a dunk to get Arizona started in a run.
Yeah, we got that one called. He certainly ignited that 13-0 run at the end of the first half with a dunk.
Out.
He steps in, and Collison says, no way.
Well, Adams had the idea.
Miles, meanwhile, loops it up and in.
Terrific display by Kansas in their run.
11-0 run. Gardner, 3. Kansas underneath. And look at Heinrich.
And keeps the dribble alive so he's not getting to travel.
Says to Graves and Collison, I got it. Does he have it? Nope. Walton brings it to the other end.
You know, Stoudemire's been taken out of this game completely. Hasn't gotten any open looks. If you're Arizona, you want to get him the ball. He's being guarded by Langford.
Gardner right through the defense.
Stoudemire, who had the 32-point game, with 6 threes in that game in Lawrence, has hardly been in the offense at all today.
At 20 in the second half. Inside, Collison. Miles found him. Will this be number 4?
No, I think that's going to be on Walton.
Walton instead, indeed, and that's just his first. Well, tomorrow, the East Regional Final, Billy, Oklahoma and Syracuse. Will Oklahoma go back to the Final Four for the 2nd straight year?
Well, interesting there, the great zone of Syracuse and a team that got the nice seed situation to be able to play basically with the home crowd, as we're seeing Arizona having the home crowd here today. The Syracuse zone and that incredible Oklahoma pressure man-to-man. Debbie Ara having the outstanding game. Nice to see that young man break out yesterday.
Just 1 of 2. Tipped out to Gardner.
Oh, good defense.
Comes right in, and this will be as easy as it gets.
That was great defense by Kansas. Actually, you had 2 men on the hedge move.
Miles with the push-off. Hey, Miles has quick hands.
He really does.
3rd foul, though, committed by Aaron.
Might see Lee coming in the ballgame. That was just great team defense.
Mr. Goodwrench, who is this one and only GM expert? I gotta find this guy.
So, Fred, you are Mr. Goodwrench?
That's right.
You say you're Mr. Goodwrench, but that guy says he's Mr. Goodwrench. Well, I'd have a little talk with Chirpy over there, but that's just me. That's how I roll. And you're Mr. Goodwrench?
That's right.
Huh.
Will the real Mr. Goodwrench please step forward?
Find Mr. Goodwrench at over 7,000 GM dealerships nationwide.
All right, pal. Give me the bullhorn.
No.
You can be fast, or you can be strong. Or you can find a way to be both. What's my thirst? Doing whatever it takes.
It's about that time.
What's yours?
It's about that time. We've talked about the 1-3-1 zone. Look at everybody from Arizona inside the box. Now Heinrich out here in the corner needs to cheat in on this line right here. He'd have a much easier jump shot, be able to take advantage of that packed-in Arizona 1-3-1. But, Jim, one of the key things right now, where Kansas is getting their offense is off their defense. They have 12 steals, and a lot of those have led to either uncontested baskets, as we just saw, or opportunities for wide-open looks.
Heinrich is leading the way for the Jayhawks with 18.
There's a hedge again by Collison. Nash, who gives up a lot of weight to Walton.
Gardner has given it his all. Hits from 3. Gardner with 12.
Collison Fry, and Collison's giving him the upper body, just banging him around in there.
The tie-up, Arrow, Arizona.
That was Adams with good hands.
Michael Lee's coming in for Roy Williams' side.
I think this is a really good move by Roy Williams. Now he's got 2 shooters on the perimeter. Actually 3 if you want to count Langford, who certainly can shoot as well. So against that defense, Lee, who plays very good, strong, and is athletically good enough to go up against Adams. Gives up a little size, but he's strong and quick.
Iguodala outside the wall, fires the 3 and hits.
And here comes Kansas.
Walton has 11. Back-to-back threes for the Wildcats. Trying to turn it back one more time. Lee, he'll take the 3. And Walton plucks it out of the air.
Walton doesn't give it to Gardner quick enough. Gardner wanted to turn the corner with that thing.
Walton wanting to use that size, that strength on Nash. Finds Gardner on the other end, and again, that's 3 straight threes out of the break.
That was a beautiful look by Walton and Gardner. Jim, we talk about the seniors. 5th-year senior Walton knew that that cross-court pass would be available.
Oh, and another theft. 2 by Gardner, 1 by Walton. Maybe it'll be 3 by Gardner. Oh, rattles out. You just knew he was going to make it. Rattles inside, gets it back up. And a whistle on Kansas.
Isn't it amazing the runs we're seeing? 2 outstanding teams here. They started this season ranked 1 and 2 in the nation and showing everybody why here.
Second on Collison. Son Adams to the line for 2.
Jimmy, remember when Kansas started, they went to New York. Roy Williams had gone in the preseason NIT 12-0, had never lost, and all of a sudden shows up against his alma mater, North Carolina, and then loses to Florida, and all of a sudden found themselves go from number 2 in the country down to number 20.
Well, his team actually began the year 3-3 after 2 of those losses coming in New York. We see Graves back on the floor, and with Simeon out come January, few would argue this is not Roy's finest performance. Bringing this team, he was the Big 12 Coach of the Year, bringing this team now to the brink of going to New Orleans in the Final Four. Arizona right back with an 11-0 run.
Tried to go
top, and Iguodala reads it.
You'd have to wonder what Graves is thinking about there. He's not the man to be throwing that pass. Well, Gardner is really stepping up right now.
Heinrich reached in on him. His first.
It's great to see seniors battle right here, not wanting to play in that last game, knowing how much at stake here.
And the under-12 timeout. Well, Kansas got it back to 14. Arizona trims it to 3.
And now the toughest leg of the strongman competition, Norm, the Bud Light Industrial Bridge Pull.
Jim, that's 1,000 pounds of pure hernia that they'll try to drag across.
Sorry to interrupt, Norm, but it looks like a fan from the stands has stolen the Bud Light. Oh! A huge hit from out of nowhere. And this guy's got the foot speed to take this thing all the way. Oh, man!
Count it, bro!
For the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down.
Okay, who's the hero?
Make it a Bud Light.
CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the Men's Basketball Championship is sponsored by Intel Centrino Mobile Technology, Gatorade, Monster, and by UPS.
Back here in Anaheim, West Final twice. Kansas has threatened to just open this game up, but Arizona fights back.
Jim, I look at these two teams out here and these two coaches, and I think back to 1997 in Birmingham, Alabama, when Roy Williams did have one of his great teams and was beaten by Lute Olson in the regional semis. A team that everybody was a #1 Kansas at the time. Arizona went on to win the national championship, beating 3 #1s, the only people ever to do that.
Adams got away with over the back, and they say it was last touched by Kansas. Yes, they beat 3 #1s that year. Arizona on its way to the championship. I tell you, it wasn't ever easy for them either. They beat College Charleston by 4, Kansas by 3. They beat Providence then the next game in overtime, and then Kentucky in the final in overtime.
Gardner wanted that jump shot back. He thought it was right down.
Walton, fadeaway blocked by Collison.
Walton could have picked that up.
Yeah, it was touched by, he doesn't, I guess, realize that Nick touched it.
Yeah, he still had his dribble alive, too.
Adams 3. Battles it in.
Gardner is putting so much pressure on the Kansas defenses with his dribble penetration.
They have come all the way back from 16 down in the first half, 14 in the second half, and now look for the lead.
Iguodala trying to dribble too much. He's got to find the open man like Gardner to handle the ball on the break.
Uh-oh, careful here. Technical foul as Gardner came over to exchange words with Miles. They already had called the tie-up, and the arrow belongs to Kansas.
Now, Jim, here's what you got to really be careful of. Was it a fight? You know, it shouldn't be.
It wasn't at all.
Exactly. But, you know, a fight, there's a lot of things that you can call a fight. A push, a shove.
You're talking, of course, because the consequences for the next game.
The consequences, absolutely. So let's hope that that was something where in both cases the officials don't declare that this is a fight.
Well, Michael Lee, like an old football player that he is, trying to defend his area there, and Miles comes over. Gardner mixed it up with him.
Let's see what we're going to call.
Called a technical. They haven't indicated who was on.
Here we see down on the ground. There is the push on Fry.
Well, Lee did not like the fact that Fry had it.
Miles. Yep. Miles from behind.
Gardner says, wait a minute now. What are you doing here? It's on. It's going to be called on Channing Fry, the technical.
And a personal, Jim. You get a personal on that, too.
How about that?
I didn't think that Channing Fry was the guy. He took the shot in the back from Miles.
Well, they also called a foul on Miles. That's 4 on Miles. How's that? And Fry was called for that, his 3rd.
I think the officials better relook this one in terms of who got charged with what, because there are some strong consequences here.
Actually called a technical on both Fry and Miles. Double technical, Billy.
That'll work.
Heinrich 3. Look at Fry fighting for it. Got our first tie since the opening minutes. 5-5.
Gardner is now putting the ball on the floor with great dribble penetration. He is making it very difficult for Heinrich to stay with him. Jason Gardner, the young man out of Indianapolis, Indiana, who was in high school in that year that Arizona went for the national championship, and they actually practiced
at his high school
gym. Remember that?
And they wouldn't let him in.
Yep.
Security would not let him in.
Been a recruiting violation too, but in any case,
yeah, that was the practice facility for the Wildcats there at North Central High School. Jason was just a sophomore. That foul on Heinrich was his second, and Arizona has the lead.
Now what's happening now is that Gardner, with his dribble penetration, putting so much pressure on Kansas. Normally it's Walton, the guy that penetrates inside on the dribble.
Its first lead since the opening basket of the game. Heinrich gets Walton to commit, gives up, lead. Tie basket.
Excellent pump fake by Heinrich to get open. I think it's time to look for Channing Frye. There he is.
You want it? You got it. And gets the generous bounce. What do you look for at this end? Old soothsayer.
Short. First time that he has stepped out in an area where he can get shots. Now, one of the things that Kansas could do is put Graves and Collison down on the baseline and then just throw the ball over the top, making it tough for Gardner to make the play on the two big men. They're playing out so high, it makes it easy for Gardner.
There's Walton spinning, giving up. Push off first, called on Collison.
Right now, Kansas can't stop the dribble penetration of either Walton or Gardner. And that's setting up everything offensively for Arizona.
Collison with 3 fouls now. Go to NCAAsports.com for complete NCAA basketball championship coverage. And you can get daily tournament photos, video highlights, latest news from each region at the official website for NCAA Sports.
And Jim, thinking back at these two teams also, in '96 they faced each other, and it was Kansas that won. Then they got knocked off by Syracuse, a team that's alive right now from the East. Got to the Final Four.
Front end of a 1-1, missed by Walton. 17th foul on Kansas, and Heinrich.
Nice.
And the basket goes.
We are seeing some really outstanding veteran performers right now. Heinrich and Gardner at the guard spot. Penetrating, taking it right in on Channing Frye. And using his body to shield.
4 on Frye, Billy.
Yep.
He's coming out. Anderson in. Wow. Heinrich to the line.
This
game, the lead back.
This game not like either of the previous two they played. There's a good tap back by Graves. They can go get it. They don't have to worry about backcourt.
And Lee wasn't so sure.
Collison should look to take that jump shot. He can shoot right over Gardner.
Lost it in midair. Langford. Gardner. Which way they go on to call it a block? Heinrich.
It was a good call. Heinrich on a fast break opportunity. Couldn't get planted defensively.
It's his third.
It was funny. They never really had good passing lanes on this break, but Walton gives it up. See, Heinrich doesn't get over there in time.
Fouls becoming a concern for the Jayhawks. 3 Heinrich, 3 Collison, 4 with Miles on the bench.
Now 9:02 to go. If you're Roy Williams, you got to let him play out. You got to let your veteran player understand the problems he's in and hope that he can use his maturity to not get that fifth.
2 shots for Gardner, who tied Miles Simon with that victory over Notre Dame as the all-time winningest Wildcat. Could take that honor alone here if he leads them to New Orleans tonight.
He has 5 career records that he holds at Arizona.
Highest scoring guard in Arizona history, has 19 tonight, 12 in this half. And to go inside, deflected out by the Wildcats.
Langford has to understand that Collison wasn't even down the court yet on that play. You don't want to go inside to Graves. I think Nick Collison can get some short baseline 10, 12-foot jumpers. Here's one.
Collison on the inbound, fouled on the way up. Now fouled first before the shot, they're going to say.
The out-of-bounds situation. We saw this play used so well the other day. Graves sets the screen here to open up the lob for Collison. He uses that wide body, and see what Walton's doing, a smart thing here. Getting right inside that screen.
And that's Adams with that one. By the way, let me point out, while we have a moment, that was 4 on Anderson. So they've got issues with Arizona's big men. Fry and Anderson with 4 each.
We may see Fox come in, Jim, just to steal a couple of minutes here. Because Lute Olson would love to have Anderson's experience on the bench, on the floor, that last 3 or 4 minutes. Isaiah Fox, who's today is his birthday, right?
Yes, he was born in Tucson 20 years ago today, on the day that Lute Olson signed up to be the Arizona coach.
His father was in spring football practice as a football player at Arizona.
Heinrich got it at long range this time.
I said he ought to step in a little closer, but he showed some range there.
1 point Kansas lead.
Walton on a drive. Walton on a drive.
Fade away. Tipped around Anderson. Adams comes in. Ball loose. And the tie-up will go to Arizona.
Adams, such a great leaper, Jim, on the inside, even though he was giving up size, kept that ball alive for Arizona. That was the key. You see him get his, there's that outside shot by Heinrich. That was about a 26-footer there.
Well, Fry's coming back in.
I think it's a nice substitution move by Lute Olson here. You bring Channing Frye in because the guy you'd rather have on the floor going down to the wire would be Anderson because of his ball handling ability and experience.
Iguodala, valuable freshman. That ball, the hold on, they're going to call Collison for his 4th.
Wow, that was a huge call there.
And a bit late.
Collison has to realize that Walton has been driving on him. Let him make that catch. Not a good foul by Collison. Are they going to take him out with this much time?
Well, Brian Nash is coming on the floor. And yes, they will take Collison out.
That was a huge, huge foul.
Tonight after basketball, stay tuned for a special edition of 48 Hours, followed by The Agency, except on the West Coast, here on CBS America's Most Watched Network.
I think what Roy Williams will do here is if he can stay in this ball game and keep it tight, he keeps Collison on the bench. But if it gets down to 4 or more points, you're going to see Collison coming back in.
Walton, who had missed the front end of a 1-and-1, hits it this time. But they'll be in the double bonus the rest of the way, Arizona. Game is tied. Wildcats by 1.
Heinrich keeps pushing that ball up the floor.
Nash, he doesn't want that shot.
No, they only basically have got Heinrich on the outside.
Lee, who hit 2 threes in the first half.
And with Collison out of the ball game right now, there's really no interior scoring. Graves the only guy with size.
He can get Langford to slash, but if he's able to, nothing inside other than that.
Whoa, there's a big call. There's Adams holding Heinrich on the cut. Just a touch foul.
And that'll be a 1-and-1. 3rd on Adams.
We talked about how Arizona goes to the foul line. How about Kansas this year? Coming into this game, went to the foul line 841 times. Their opponents only 518. 323 foul differential.
The biggest number right now is 1. It's a 1-and-1. And now the game tied with that one.
Heinrich surprisingly just shooting at 70%. With his stroke, you'd figure he'd be an 80+% free throw shooter.
And back in front by 1. The under 8 break has arrived. Back and forth we go in Anaheim. Kansas, the leader at the moment.
Can Jimmy play?
Oh, yeah. Jimmy?
Oops.
Can Jimmy come play?
Hi, Derek. Jimmy?
Can Jimmy play?
Jimmy?
Slot right, Texas. 22-on-2.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's my job.
7:53 to play, and The foul situation, Anderson and Fry for Arizona with 4. Collison and Miles. Remember, Miles and Fry picking up personal fouls because they each were called for a technical.
Now, Jim, if you, in regard to that situation, you'd have to like Arizona's side of the battle because they can flip-flop Channing, Fry, and Anderson. Keep Fry out on the floor here. If he picks up his 5th, they can come back in with Anderson. Right now, Kansas has got to have Collison on the bench because they've got nowhere to go.
And they have Miles on the bench also. The 2 prominent starters sitting for the Jayhawks. Jumper from the outside, Iguodala. Fry with the save, but right into the arms of Heinrich.
Kansas likes the numbers.
Bounces it in. Nash blocked by Iguodala.
That was an incredible play.
And he comes back down with it.
Unbelievable block. Walton again using his power.
Graves with the strong hands. And a reach over. It'll send Graves to the line for a 1-on-1. Iguodala with the foul.
Jim, again, we talk about Iguodala listed in height at 6'6", but he plays closer to 6'10". Now watch these arms go out. Look at them. I really don't think I've seen a guy with that wingspan that uses it as well all the way back to the days of Sam Perkins at North Carolina, who had that kind of a wingspan and knew how to use it.
Andre originally signed to play for Arkansas, but once Nolan Richardson left as the coach, he changed plans, went to Tucson. 1-on-1. Graves, big shot. He has a double-double now. 11 points, 10 rebounds. It's coming up big.
Not the first time this young man has done that. He's got 4 double-doubles on the year.
He's the biggest one of all in this setting. Out of Lee's Summit, Missouri.
Jimmy's had 9 games this year where he's had double-figure in rebounds, so he has done a fine job finally getting himself in shape. Big addition to this team, particularly with Wayne Simeon out.
2-point Kansas lead. Gardner driving on Heinrich.
Heinrich has not been able to stop the dribble penetration of Gardner in this second half. Probably been the difference of what brought Arizona back.
Been a wild second half here. 8 ties, 5 lead changes. Under 7 minutes to play, all tied. With a trip to New Orleans on the line. And the ball kicked, so it'll come back to Kansas. Ooh, Adams. He was already orchestrating just an unbelievable dunk at the other end.
There was a flush coming.
You know it.
He did get that foot out with the kick, so it'll be a new 35 as well.
I wonder how much longer Collison and Miles will sit out.
I say they keep Collison out of this ball game as long as they can stay within 4 points. And right now they're tied.
He's been down for almost 2 minutes.
And of course, they get to 3 minutes. They bring him in automatically regardless of the score. Roy Williams is trying to steal time here. Cross-court pass for Heinrich. There it is.
Out Walton to leave his feet. Nash. Heinrich with 12 on the shot clock. Alertly picks it up. Tough shot. Block. Gardner punches it up court.
Lee can go up
for the lead.
That little tap is what made that available. And what Heinrich feels right now is he's got to take the shots, Jim. And you were exactly right. He can't shoot that ball over Adams. He's an excellent leaper.
From behind, Gardner was on the line back to Kansas.
I think if you're Roy Williams, you might have to think about bringing Collison in, even taking the chance.
Well, he wants another ball handler. He's going to bring Miles.
Yeah, but Miles is not a shooter, Jim, and that doesn't free up Heinrich to have the open looks.
More of a threat, though, than Nash from the outside. Well, Nash has been hanging out there.
He maybe can look to penetrate and kick out to Heinrich.
Heinrich takes it this time. What a shot! Kirk Heinrich.
Walton was slow getting out on him. Had to play him for the jump shot. He knows he's got protection in the backside in the 1-3-1 zone.
Lead back to the Jayhawks. Iguodala penetrating on Langford. Graves secures.
Nice job by Graves holding his own.
Miles pushes it up. He's got Heinrich open. Can he do it again?
He got it. Oh, I thought that was in.
Langford underneath. Lost control of it. Now comes Walton.
You won't find any two teams any more worthy of a Final Four than these two, Jim.
Yeah, we've got the final 5 minutes, Billy. It's been a great one here in Anaheim. Walton working on Langford. And foul on Keith Langford. Be 2 shots, double bonus. Heinrich in the second half, Billy.
Well, he had a nightmare game just the other day, but he has been tremendous in this one. Squaring up, looking for that jump shot, so positive. Look at that follow-through, staying right with it. The other night he was leaning. I think that hand had to bother him a little bit the other night. He never complained about it and said it wouldn't in this game as well, and has proven that it hasn't.
28 points for Heinrich. Walton to shoot 2.
Not a great free throw shooter is Walton.
And Stoudemire in for Adams.
Walton under 70% and surprisingly has only been to the line 80 times this year. You'd think as a guy that goes inside so much, you get on the line much more.
Ties it with the second one.
Stoudemire, you mentioned the name, Jim. He's been awful quiet in this game.
He was the Kansas killer in the first matchup. And they came back from 20 down. Arizona on the road to win by 17.
Good.
Langford launching.
Great screen that time by Graves. Langford's got to make that shot.
Long rebound to Lee. Langford this time inside, and he's going to the line. On Iguodala.
Langford, of course, as we mentioned, 27 points in the game earlier this year against Arizona, and he's been a good slasher here today.
Wearing that number 5 because he looked up to Jalen Rose and
Fab
the Michigan team of now 10 years ago.
The Michigan team who has been basically wiped off the face of the history book in the NCAA tournament.
Rick Anderson returns with 4 fouls. Fry to the bench. Langford. One more.
And Jim, you can see Roy Williams just trying to hang in here before he has to bring Collison back. Lute Olson able to go ahead and flip-flop Anderson and Fry.
1-point lead. Collison has sat now for almost 4 minutes.
And he's looking down at Coach Williams, but Coach isn't giving him any look back. You'd like to keep it tight. And not pick up that 5th.
Gardner working on Miles. Miles with the 4 fouls, too. Back over, Gardner. 10 on the shot clock. Looking for help. Walton out high. 3 on the shot clock. Gardner has to take it.
Off the rim.
Rebound. Back to Arizona.
They got a new 35-second shot clock.
Walton all the way up the line. Stoudemire.
Arizona never got reset on that 35-second shot clock opportunity.
Kansas possession. Timeout.
We're witnessing a college basketball miracle. Dick Vitale, silent, an entire 17 seconds. On a personal note, for myself and sportscasters everywhere, I'd like to thank the crust, the juicy toppings, and the pizza delivery guy.
For fresh baked pizza at home, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
Kansas has the ball and the arrow and the lead and ample supply of timeouts on each side.
And Nick Collison back in the game. And he has 4 fouls, so he's going to have to use his experience not to get involved with any reaching foul. If he's going to make one, it has to be on the offensive end of the floor, not the defensive end.
Collison with 6 points in this game after the 33-19 rebound night against Duke.
And Jim, I think the guy from Arizona that's been so quiet, Stoudemire, is a guy that I could see taking a big shot down the stretch here.
How about the big shot for Kansas?
Well, I think the guy right here, Collison and Heinrich, are the 2 guys you'd want to take in any shots. Forget about the big shot. There's one.
He got stuck. Walton closed in on him.
Well, Walton's got to force him to drive anytime he gets in that position.
Heinrich. One of the rim. Graves with the tap.
How about that young man's effort today? Stayed out of foul trouble. Has made his presence felt. But they got a good shot for Heinrich.
3-point lead, 3 minutes to go. Walton pushed off by Graves.
This is a good job by Graves, not going over anybody's back. He just held his ground as a rebounder. Ball comes out. He goes right up there. A nice clean play. No block out by Anderson. He should have put a body on Graves.
All right, the CBS Sportsline stat of the game, Kirk Heinrich, the performance here matched up against the Sweet 16 performance. Get complete tournament stats. CBSSportsline.com, America Online, under the keyword CBS Sportsline. That's the third foul on Graves, 2 for Walton.
And Jim Heinrich in the Big 12 tournament had an off game, 2 for 9 against Iowa State. And then, of course, we all know about the documented 1 for 9 against Duke. But today he has been the man.
He's 1 point shy of a career high as 28. Fry back on the floor. Walton, 1 of 2.
Channing Frye almost picked up that cheap one going over the back.
72-70 Kansas.
For Arizona, you want to run right out on Heinrich anytime he touches the ball. Don't let him have any open looks. And it won't be Stoudemire taking his shot because I think Lute Olson likes Adams out there in the top of the zone.
Miles nowhere to go, and they say it was touched.
Ooh, and here's another overrule. And Roy Williams likes that one a little better than he liked in the first half.
Just a little touch by Arizona, ever so slight, but they're not arguing it.
You know, is that Roy Williams totally ignoring the official on this occasion. Yeah. And Judy Rhodes much more comfortable, the NCAA representative here, than she was in that first half.
No need to stare this side.
No.
7 on the shot clock, Billy.
Yeah, and want to set a big solid screen right here. Roy Williams does a smart thing here. Gets the timeout because he wants to make sure he gets a decent shot off.
Wants to maximize the possession with 7 seconds left on the shot clock. Each team with 3 timeouts. Lute Olson seeking win number 500 at Arizona on this date, where 20 years ago he signed up to be the Wildcat coach. Kansas looking for all-time win number 1800. They could pull this one out, joining Kentucky and North Carolina as the only 2 to do so. Only 3 then it would be. 7 on the shot clock. Billy, what do you do?
I think you want to get Collison or Heinrich a touch right here. There's a screen for Heinrich. They don't get it to him.
Miles back to him. Heinrich way out there again. Tipped out by Graves. Miles jumped, and they're going to call the foul on Adams. It's 4th.
How about that to save?
It was Graves.
It was unbelievable to save that shot clock. Heinrich put it up. He knew he had to take the shot even out of range.
But then to tip it out.
Yep. But the ball hit the rim, so that would have been all right.
Graves to keep it alive on that end. It looked like the ball was headed for Arizona.
Miles, a good free throw shooter at 75%. Not good from 3, but he's making his free throws.
Both sides shooting 2 the rest of the way.
Doesn't make any sense, does it, Jim? He's 24% from 3 and 75% from the foul line. So it shows that he has a stroke. It's a matter of lack of confidence from 3.
2 confident shots right there. 2 possession lead now for the Jayhawks.
With Gardner, you want to penetrate with a dribble. It's got Miles on him, who has 4 fouls, right?
Miles has 4.
Gardner should try to penetrate.
Graves better be careful. Banging bodies with Walton. Walton, 3-point shot. Bangs it home.
Penetration by Gardner with a kick out.
He's hit 2 big ones in this half. 1:50 to play. 1-point lead, Kansas.
Collison had nice position inside. Heinrich was just too far away for the passing lane.
Miles back outside. Langford thought about it. Steps in. Rejected. Fry. Inside. Collison got the roll.
And who was the man again? Graves. He has come up with some big plays for his team today.
First field goal by Collison in almost 32 minutes on the clock, and outside the bump foul.
Smart play by Gardner. He's got Miles with 4 fouls on him. Penetrates off the dribble. They haven't been able to stop this the entire second half. Here's the kick out to Walton.
That's going to be it for Miles.
That's just good heady play by Gardner. Realizing he had a man in foul trouble, Miles has got to play him solid defense. And that takes a good free throw shooter out for Kansas, as well as their primary ball handler.
Absolutely. They're going to replace him with his high school teammate. They teamed up not only in basketball but football, also quarterback and tight end. And this man was a big recruit by all the Pac-10 schools to play football. Michael Lee will come in.
Let me say something about Lee. 3 occasions this year, 2 for wins that were sealed, and 1 that almost gave him a win. He has made key free throws down the stretch, so keep that in mind.
Gardner now 7 for 7 at the line.
And Lee probably, with his strength, maybe matched up with Gardner here and probably could handle him as well as Miles.
He was a big defender on Thursday night.
Absolutely.
Gardner coolly sinks 2. Down to 1. 1:16 to play.
The 1-3-1 zone has kept Collison away from a lot of touches today. I think they can get it to him in the corner and let him go ahead and just shoot over Gardner.
Under a minute now. It's Langford trying to drive, lays it up and in.
Oh, he just reaches on out with that left hand of his. Great drive.
Walton, the senior, going the other way. They called it on Luke Walton.
And that was Langford with a smart defensive play. Walton kind of lost his balance on that one, Jim.
Timeout.
Look at Langford just held his ground. Terrific job.
Timeout, Arizona. Kansas up by 3 with possession.
No man is an island. No man stands alone. Each man's joy is joy to me. Each man's grief is my own. We need one another, so I will defend each man as my brother, each man as my friend.
It has been a most memorable West Regional final here in Anaheim, and Kansas leads it with 43 seconds remaining.
And what you like right now is the way Roy Williams used the little bench that he had with the guts to keep Collison sitting down there for what had to be, 4 minutes or so, Jim. And now he's got him out for the last 43 seconds. Graves, who's really been so important with good touches, keeping the ball alive.
Lee doubled up. Timeout, Kansas. Lee was trapped. 33 game clock, 25 shot clock. We'll be right back. Tonight, stay tuned for a special edition, 48 hours, followed by the agency, except on the West Coast here on America's Most Watched Network. What will Arizona do here, defending?
I like the idea of coming out and pressing in a half-court basis. They've gotten out of the 1-3-1. You can see by the positioning of Gardner, so it's going to be man-to-man pressure. Gardner on Heinrich. And Adams on Langford, who has been doing a good job penetrating off the dribble.
Heinrich gets away from Gardner. Out high to Lee. 13 on the shot clock. Langford, good ball handler. Back over to Lee. 6 on the shot clock. Now Heinrich begins his move. Iguodala has a hand on it. Yes, indeed, the arrow goes to Kansas.
But only 2 seconds remain on the shot clock. But I'll tell you what, Jim, with a 3-point lead, Kansas did a good job occupying almost all of that 35 seconds without losing the ball.
9 seconds remaining. Kansas has called another timeout. We'll have just 2 seconds on the shot clock. Kansas with 9 left.
Jim, what you want to do right now is get the ball inbounds to Heinrich, and no matter where he is, take a bad shot, trying to get it to hit the rim, and then get Graves and Collison and everybody else to go for the loose ball. I wouldn't have Heinrich taking this ball out of bounds here.
Trying to set something up inside, maybe for Collison. Yes, puts it up. No foul. And shot clock violation. No foul called. 7.1 left for Arizona.
See, I think it was good to get the ball to Heinrich and let him take the jump shot and then go rebound it. Because Arizona has seen that lob, and it was tough for Collison to make that catch in traffic, get it off.
Kansas thought maybe they might get a call there. Timeout called now, Arizona. They'll need to knock down a three. We'll be right back. All right, we've been asked to provide a replay of that last moment. Trying to check see how much time's left.
The clock does not start until the ball touches an inbound player. So they might get a little bit more time on here, the Arizona, huh? Wasn't it 9 seconds right on it, or was it 9-2?
It was at 9-2.
Yeah. So they got. Now here's Stoudemire in the ball game right now. Jason Gardner on the push up the floor with a dribble. And if you're Kansas, look out for Stoudemire. Lute Olson wants a timeout. I'd make somebody other than Stoudemire beat you with a three.
And as soon as they call the timeout, they also check in Anderson. So another senior coming in, trying to extend the career. We'll be right back. Really great seniors on both sides, Billy, and the seniors of Arizona, the three senior starters like Luke Walton, like Rick Anderson, Jason Gardner. They must come up with the big shot now to keep their college careers going. Collison, the senior at Kansas, who so desperately wants to go back to the Final Four for the second straight year, whose goal since he was a young child was to be standing on that stage on championship night and hear the theme song, the One Shining Moment, played in honor of his team.
And Jim, if you are Kansas, what you can do is obviously allow a two. So therefore, all of your defensive pressure has got to be outside the three-point line. And they've got Lee over there on Stoudemire. Is Stoudemire going to get any kind of a screen? Here comes Gardner.
Gardner will bring it up into the front court.
Here comes a double screen for Stoudemire.
Gardner shot blocked by Heinrich to get it right back. This one must go. Gardner back to the rim. And Roy's boys are bound for New Orleans. Be a sentimental choice in New Orleans. Roy Williams is a very big candidate for that. He's loved in the college community. He's never won that national championship. Everyone knows he is a first-class guy, as is Lute Olson. And as soon as the game ended, it was Roy Williams running over to the Arizona seniors, to Luke Walton, to extend a hand and an acknowledgement of a great career. Gardner would get two chances. Heinrich denying the first. Walton would save it for one last shot over to Gardner.
Befittingly, Graves gets the rebound, Jim. There's a great block by Heinrich. Stoudemire, they tried to set the screen on the opposite side for Stoudemire, but could never get him the ball. He had a good look here.
Kansas is going to New Orleans. The Jayhawks will meet Marquette next Saturday down in the Bayou City. Kansas wins the West bracket. What a phenomenal season for that man right there. Starting the year 3-3, losing a valuable player, Wayne Simeon. Kirk Heinrich coming up so large here tonight. 28 points. Jason Gardner closes out his Arizona career with 23. We will be hearing from the Jayhawks shortly. They're on their way to New Orleans. Greg Gumbel and company in New York coming up in a moment.
Welcome back, everyone. I want to remind you, coming up tonight here on CBS, once we've wound down, stay tuned for a special edition of 48 Hours, followed by The Agency, except on the West Coast. It's all here tonight on CBS, America's most watched network. The Kansas Jayhawks knock off top seed Arizona 78-75, and that means that Kansas moves on. Here's a look at the tournament brackets from the NCAA and its corporate champion Pontiac. And we will start with the Kansas victory over Arizona. Kansas comes out of the West with the victory over Arizona 78-75, and that means that neither top seed in the West or the Midwest moves on to New Orleans. It'll be Kansas against Marquette next Saturday in New Orleans. We thank you for joining us, everyone. Kansas, a 78-75 winner. Let's go back out now to Jim Nantz and Billy Packer.
Coach Roy Williams telling his team, I'm going to show you guys how to cut down the net. How do you sum up this game and this season as you go back to the Final Four?
The adversity they've handled, even today when they made the great run right before the half, and our kids came out and still played in the second half. A lot of teams would have folded because of what had happened the last time we played them. These guys are tough kids.
We're going to see you in New Orleans next week. Roy Williams and the Jayhawks head into the Final Four. Let's go back to Greg in New York.
All right, Jim, thank you. Two great games today. Kansas knocks off the top seed Arizona by 3, and Kentucky, the #1 seed, falls to Marquette. That's it for now. For Clark, for Quinn, for all of us here at CBS Sports, I'm Greg Gumbel. We'll see you tomorrow.
Blocked by Adams, and here we go the other way. Adams gets it back, and he's going to finish what he started. He 3 of 4 from the field. He had 11. Arizona goes up 2. Kansas now down 2. Heinrich, I told you, he made 6. He took 17. He followed up a 2-point game with 28. Rock Chalk up by 1. Arizona down 4. Walton going to hit a 3 of his own. Took 2, made 2. He had 18. Wildcats within 1. Under a minute to go. Kansas by 1. Keith Langford, dribble drive, and tough little floater. He had 13. Jayhawks by 3. 7 seconds left. Last chance for Arizona. Down 3. Gardner brings it up. He's going to try a 3. It's blocked by Heinrich. He gets it back. One more try. No. And #1 goes down. Jayhawks win at 78-75. Luke Walton, Channing Frye, shocked. Kansas going to the Final Four for the 2nd straight year. And the 4th time under Roy Williams. He's got mad hops.
You have to be very, very good, and you have to also be lucky. And today, for 2.5 hours, I told our kids, you know, Arizona had been the best team in the country, Arizona and Kentucky, the whole season. But we didn't have to be the best team in the country the whole season. We just had to be the best team for the next 2.5 hours.
I know it's going to be my last time in the locker room with those guys and wearing my Arizona uniform and with the coaches. You know, that's the hardest part of everything, is knowing that it's all over now. And we're not going to have another shot at it.
That's the first time ever, by the way, Roy Williams has been described as having mad hops. Hey, deja vu, that sinking feeling. You've done this before. For Kansas, they've got it bad right now. This is their first win over a #1 seed since '93, when, like Saturday, they beat a team in the regional finals as the 2nd seed to earn a trip to the Final Four in New Orleans.
Midwest Final, Marquette, no Final Four since '77 against #1 Kentucky. 1-point, 6 for 6 shooting performance in an overtime period against Mizzou.
Still ahead inside Sports Center. We just showed you 2 of the 4 teams heading to New Orleans, but how'd they really win Saturday? Dick and Digga take us through the games basket by basket. Never count out the Tiger. After 2 mediocre days by his standards, the short game comes to the rescue. Andy North and Scott Van Pelt break down round 3 at the TPC. And the first pitch of the 2003 baseball season hours away, and some big-name players will not be ready. Millions of dollars on the DL. Sports Center, back in 70 seconds. For the Final Four is set. Down goes #1 Arizona. Down goes #1 Kentucky. See if that happens again on Sunday. But first, let's talk about how those 2 teams got there. Joining us now to talk about it, who else? Dick and Digger. Dick Vitale and Digger Phelps joining us. And let's start with Arizona and Kansas. And Digger, how much of this meeting in the regional final was influenced by the first matchup between these two
in Kansas where the Jayhawks let one get away.
They got embarrassed at home, especially in the second half, blowing that halftime lead, and they want to get back to this moment where they can be a payback. Yeah, they let the lead get away early today, but I just thought at the end of the game, they just had that determination to say, you know what, we're still going to win this, we're still going to get a chance to go to the Final Four, and we're going to pay you back for that loss in January.
And Dick, a huge comeback game for Kirk Heinrich after an awful display in the Sweet 16.
I tell you, Trey, what an amazing story. The kid goes for 28 points, absolutely brilliant, makes the great defensive play at the end of the game on Gardner. Just a super player. I've often said the best tandem in America is Heinrich and Collison. Collison gets into foul trouble. And what about the genius of Roy Williams? Think about it. This club was 3-3, struggling. They lose Wayne Simeon, heir apparent to Mr. Gooden on the inside. They regroup. They get great play out of Graves during the course of the season. They win arguably the toughest conference in America, the regular season. I can't say enough about Roy Williams and the unbelievable job. You know, he doesn't have to win a national title to prove to me that he's a Hall of Famer. I know some critics will say, well, he hasn't won a national title. 4 times now to the Final Four. And I think a lot of people are shocked because people were expecting to see Arizona and Kentucky in the semifinal. It's not going to happen. Heinrich wouldn't let it happen. Showed the guts, the determination, and what a real champ is, how he battled back after adversity in that game against Duke when he was 1 for 9.
Yeah, great composure by most of Kansas. They blew the leads, but they stayed in the game and managed to take it to the end.